Brother and sister, you see, in life, there are some people who don't just walk into your world. They slither in. They come dressed in charm, wrapped in compliments, and smelling like opportunity. But underneath that polished smile, behind those carefully chosen words, there's a different reality. A darkness, a predator wearing perfume. And if you're not careful, you'll be standing there clapping for the very person who's planning to destroy you. These folks are not simply difficult. They are not just a little self-centered. No, we're talking about something far more calculated, far more sinister. They are masters at hiding their true selves. They can look like the answer to your prayers, but in truth, they might be the storm that tears your house down. The Bible tells us that even Satan can masquerade as an angel of light, so don't be fooled by appearances. What glitters isn't always gold. Sometimes it's just fool's gold with a smile. Manipulative charm is the kind of thing that can make you doubt your own instincts, because it doesn't feel dangerous. First, in fact, it feels flattering, disarming, even a little magical. The narcissist knows how to walk into a room and pull the spotlight toward themselves without making it seem forced. They study the social temperature, gauge what everyone in the room wants to hear, and then deliver it with the precision of a master storyteller. You might find yourself laughing harder than you have in weeks, feeling like you've met someone who gets you instantly, someone who seems too good to be true, and that's because they are. This charm is not a gift they give freely. It is bait on a hook. Every compliment, every attentive question, every shared laugh is designed to lower your defenses and make you trust them faster than you should. They know that people are more likely to let their guard down when they feel seen and valued, so they make sure you feel like you're the only person in the room. They'll mirror your interests, your values, your dreams. They'll nod in agreement to your stories, finish your sentences, and validate your opinions in a way that makes you think, finally, someone who understands me. But all of this is calculated. They are building a blueprint of who you are, and with every smile and approving nod, they're collecting the information they'll later use to manipulate you. The charm works so well because it doesn't come off as fake at first. It feels natural, like you've met a soulmate, a best friend, or a mentor. The danger in manipulative charm lies in its timing. Narcissists unleash it at moments when you are most vulnerable, when you're lonely, insecure, new to a place, or in need of encouragement. They sense that void and rush to fill it with their attention, creating a bond that feels authentic, but is actually one-sided. You might even find yourself defending them to others, because in your mind, they've already done so much for you emotionally. What you don't realize is that the emotional investment they appear to make is not for your benefit. It's a down payment on the control they plan to have over you. This charm is not limited to one-on-one interactions. It works in groups as well. A narcissist can captivate a crowd, telling stories that paint them as charismatic, wise, or hilariously self-deprecating, always the hero or the misunderstood genius in every scenario. People often mistake this ability for genuine likability, but what's really happening is stagecraft. They are carefully curating an image that draws admiration and loyalty, which will later make it harder for anyone to believe the truth about them when their darker side emerges. This is why so many victims of narcissists struggle to get others to see the abuse they've been out. Harmed before the truth can even be told when a narcissist uses charm. They are not just trying to make you like them. They are conditioning you to trust them more than you trust your own judgment. They will reinforce this with special treatment, small favors, or gestures that feel intimate and exclusive. They might remember small details about your life and bring them up in ways that make you feel cherished. But those same details will eventually be used against you, reminders of how much they've done for you, or twisted into criticisms that cut deeply because they're rooted in personal truths you shared in confidence. Manipulative charm is also a way for them to maintain plausible deniability. When you eventually see glimpses of their cruelty, your mind will struggle to reconcile the person who made you feel so important with the one who now makes you feel small. That's part of their strategy. They rely on you clinging to that initial version of them, the warm, attentive, magnetic person you met, long after it becomes clear that version was a performance. You keep waiting for it to come back, not realizing it never truly existed. The longer you are under the influence of their charm, the harder it becomes to see the manipulation for what it is. You might justify their bad behavior, tell yourself they're just stressed, or convince yourself you're overreacting. But in reality, the charm was never about connection. It was about control. It was a mask they wore to get close enough to you that, when they finally show their true face, you're too entangled to simply walk away. They count on the memory of their charm to cloud your judgment, to keep you tied to them emotionally, even when every part of you knows something is wrong. That's why manipulative charm is not just a personality trait. It's a weapon wielded with precision, patience, and purpose, until you find yourself wondering how someone who once made you feel so valued could now make you feel so trapped. Turning your weaknesses into ammunition is one of the most insidious tactics a narcissist uses because it requires patience, observation, and a deep understanding of human vulnerability. They start by positioning themselves as a safe place, someone you can open up to without fear. In the beginning, they might even encourage you to share your struggles, telling you that they admire your honesty or that your flaws make you relatable. This isn't compassion, it's reconnaissance. Every confession you make, every insecurity you reveal, every doubt you voice is stored away like a bullet they'll later load into their weapon. They make you believe they're holding your secrets close for your protection, when in reality, they're polishing them for the day they'll need to fire. They will often appear empathetic in these early moments, nodding in understanding, offering comforting words, or sharing their own vulnerabilities to make you feel safe. But their so-called vulnerabilities are often carefully chosen stories that don't actually cost them anything to share. They're bait meant to coax you into revealing more about yourself. They want to know where you feel inadequate, who has hurt you in the past, what situations make you anxious, and what dreams you fear might be out of reach. They're not gathering this information to support you. They're gathering it so they can control you by threatening those very areas of your life. Once they've gathered enough intel, the shift begins subtly. You might notice little jokes that cut too close to home, remarks that sting in ways only someone who knows you well could deliver. They will bring up your weaknesses in moments of conflict, twisting them into weapons that make you question your worth. If you've ever told them you struggle with feeling unlovable, they might throw out a comment in the middle of an argument like, "No wonder nobody sticks around for you." If you've shared that you're insecure about your career, they might undermine you publicly with a sarcastic, "Well, you're not exactly killing it at work, are you?" What makes this tactic so devastating is that they are using your own truth against you. These are not random insults, they're precision strikes aimed at the softest parts of you. And because those weaknesses are often tied to past pain, their words can reopen old wounds, making you relive the emotions you thought you had moved past. This isn't accidental cruelty. It's strategic, designed to weaken you and make you more dependent on them for validation and stability. Sometimes the weaponization of your weaknesses isn't overt. It can take the form of subtle reminders that keep you in a state of quiet doubt. They might withhold praise in the areas you've confessed are important to you, or bring up past mistakes in moments when you're trying to move forward. They may even frame it as concern, saying things like, "I just don't want you to embarrass yourself," which makes you second guess your abilities under the guise of care. By controlling how you see yourself, they control how much you believe you need them. In public, they might present a different version of your weaknesses, one that makes them look like a supportive partner or friend. They'll tell stories about your struggles with a light-hearted tone, making others laugh, while you sit there feeling exposed. If you protest, they'll accuse you of being too sensitive or say, "I was just trying to make people relate to you." This not only deepens your self-doubt, but also isolates you, because now others see them as the person who's always helping. When behind closed doors, they're the very source of your insecurity. Over time, this repeated targeting wears you down. You start editing yourself, avoiding certain topics, and hiding parts of your personality just to avoid giving them more material. But the damage is already done. They've planted seeds of self-doubt that grow in your mind even when they're not actively saying anything. You begin to police your own thoughts, holding back your ambitions, relationships, or personal growth, because you hear their voice in your head telling you you're not enough. That's the ultimate goal, to make you your own jailer. And when they sense you might be pulling away or regaining confidence, they'll double down. They'll remind you of your past failures, bring up the moments you felt most vulnerable, or compare you to others in ways that reignite your insecurity. They know that if they can keep you in that place of doubt, they can keep you within their reach. To them, your weaknesses aren't something to support or protect. They are leverage, currency in a game where your pain is their power. The more deeply they can etch those doubts into your identity, the harder it becomes to see where their influence ends and your true self begins. Mastering the art of playing the victim is one of narcissists' most deceptive and manipulative behaviors, because it flips the script, making them appear as the one who has been wronged while they are, in fact, the aggressor. This tactic allows them to avoid accountability, gain sympathy, and position themselves in a way that disarms those who might otherwise hold them responsible. It's not just about making excuses. It's about creating an entire narrative in which they are the misunderstood, mistreated, and perpetually unlucky soul who just can't catch a break. They know that most people instinctively want to help someone who appears to be suffering, and they exploit that natural compassion like a skilled con artist. In the beginning, you might hear stories about their unfair childhood, toxic exes, or the endless string of betrayals they've endured. These accounts are often sprinkled with enough truth to sound convincing, but are heavily edited to paint them in the most sympathetic light. They position themselves as the hero who tried their best, or the loyal partner who gave everything, only to be stabbed in the back. By sharing these tales, they hook your empathy, making you want to be the person who finally treats them right. You start to believe that your kindness can heal the wounds others have inflicted, not realizing that these wounds are often exaggerated, distorted, or entirely fabricated for effect. Once they've established themselves as the perpetual victim in your mind, it becomes a shield they can hide behind whenever their own behavior is questioned. If you call them out on something hurtful they've done, they'll immediately shift the focus to how your criticism is just like the way others have treated them in the past. Instead of addressing your concerns, They'll bring up old grievances, drawing a parallel between your actions and the supposed abuse they've suffered before. This tactic not only diverts attention from their wrongdoing, but also makes you feel guilty for adding to their pain. They are masters at crying on cue, sometimes literally. Tears, trembling voices, long pauses, and heavy sighs are part of their performance, making it harder for you to hold firm in your position. If tears don't work, they might escalate to emotional outbursts, throwing themselves into a state of visible distress so dramatic it becomes uncomfortable for everyone around. This forces people to back off, give them what they want, or apologize for something they didn't actually do. It's emotional blackmail disguised as vulnerability, but SESTTBINGS. They will tell mutual friends, colleagues, or family members selective versions of events that cast them as the one who has been wronged. Because they are often skilled storytellers, they can make these accounts sound entirely believable, especially to people who don't know the full context. Before long, you may find yourself being confronted by others who have been convinced you're the one mistreating them. This isolates you, damages your credibility, and increases their power over the situation. In relationships, the victim role becomes a tool for avoiding change. If you suggest that they need to work on certain behaviors, they'll respond with how much they've already been through, and how your requests are too much, given all the pain they've endured. By constantly reminding you of their supposed suffering, they keep the focus off their faults and on your perceived insensitivity. The more you feel like you're walking on eggshells to avoid hurting them, the less likely you are to challenge their behavior. This act is so effective because it feeds into the human desire to protect and nurture. They create situations where you're afraid to stand up for yourself because you don't want to be the next person to betray or abandon them. But behind that fragile facade is someone who knows exactly what they're doing. They measure their tone, adjust their body language, and pick their words carefully to elicit maximum sympathy. Even when they admit to a mistake, it will be framed in such a way that they are still the ones suffering most from it, turning what should be accountability into another sympathy grab. Over time, this constant victimhood narrative erodes your ability to trust your own perspective. You begin to wonder if you really are being too hard on them, if maybe their past does excuse their present actions, or if you've misunderstood their intentions. And because they are so consistent in playing this role, it becomes second nature for them to step into it whenever they feel threatened. They don't just act like the victim, they live in that role, wearing it like armor and wielding it like a sword, cutting down any challenge to their control while appearing to be the one who needs protection. Their mastery of this act ensures that even as they cause harm, they can still walk away looking like the one who was harmed the most. Creating chaos to maintain control is a hallmark of the narcissist's playbook, because confusion is one of the most effective ways to keep people dependent and off balance. When the environment around you feels unstable, your natural instinct is to search for something, or someone, that feels steady. The narcissist positions themselves as that point of stability, but only after they've been the one to stir the turbulence in the first place. It's a carefully orchestrated cycle. They create the storm, watch you scramble to navigate it, and then step in as the solution. So you feel indebted to them. In their mind, control is easier to maintain when you're too distracted by chaos to question the source of it. The chaos doesn't have to be loud or explosive to be effective. Sometimes it's subtle, like changing plans at the last minute, contradicting themselves so you're never sure what's true, or giving mixed signals that keep you guessing about where you stand. Other times, it's dramatic starting arguments out of nowhere, creating problems between you and others, or manufacturing crises that require your immediate attention. The unpredictability becomes exhausting, and before long, you start adjusting your behavior to avoid triggering the next disruption. Even though the disruptions are rarely caused by anything you've done, this tactic works because it erodes your sense of normalcy. In a stable environment, you can think clearly, trust your instincts, and make decisions that are good for you. But in a chaotic environment, your energy is spent reacting rather than planning, surviving rather than thriving. The narcissist thrives in that reactive space because you're more likely to lean on them for guidance, approval, or reassurance. They train you to see them as the only person who can help you navigate the mess, conveniently ignoring that they're the one who created the mess in the first place. They might spark chaos between you and others in your life, sowing seeds of doubt about people you trust or spreading subtle misinformation to make you question your relationships. This isolates you, ensuring they have more influence over your thoughts and decisions. By controlling the flow of information, they can control your perception of reality. You might start to believe that certain friends are untrustworthy or that family members don't really care, when in fact those beliefs are the result of carefully placed lies or half-truths. Inside the relationship, the chaos often takes the form of emotional whiplash. One moment they're affectionate and attentive, and the next they're cold, distant, or hostile. This unpredictable pattern keeps you in a constant state of hypervigilance, always trying to figure out what version of them you'll get next. That uncertainty makes you more likely to chase their approval, because you remember the high of their affection and want to get back to it. They know that inconsistency strengthens your attachment, because the reward feels more powerful when it's rare and unpredictable. They also use chaos to reset the conversation when they feel cornered. If you start to point out a pattern in their behavior or demand accountability, they'll derail the discussion with a sudden accusation, a shocking revelation, or an unrelated crisis. The goal is to overwhelm you with so much emotional clutter that you lose track of the original issue. This is why so many arguments with narcissists feel like they go in circles. You never get resolution because the ground is constantly shifting beneath you. Financial instability, career sabotage, and social disruptions are also tools in their arsenal. They might make reckless decisions that impact your shared resources, accidentally, create situations that jeopardize your job, or stir up drama in your friend group so you feel socially isolated. These forms of chaos limit your independence, making it harder for you to leave or challenge them without risking something important. The more tangled your life becomes with theirs, the more power they hold over you. Even in periods of calm, the threat of chaos lingers. You learn to anticipate it, altering your choices in an attempt to keep things peaceful. But this peace is never real. It's just the quiet before the next storm they decide to unleash. Over time, this constant tension wears you down mentally and emotionally. You might start doubting your ability to handle life without them, not because you're incapable, but because they've conditioned you to believe that stability is a gift they grant rather than something you can create on your own. In the narcissist's world, chaos is not accidental, it's deliberate. It's a smokescreen that distracts you from seeing their true motives and prevents you from building the clarity and confidence you'd need to break free. By keeping you busy navigating the instability they design, they ensure you remain exactly where they want you. Uncertain, dependent, and under their control, a narcissist thrives on chaos because chaos keeps you off balance. If you're spinning, you can't focus. If you're doubting yourself, you'll lean on them more. And that's exactly what they want: dependence. Because the moment you start thinking clearly, the moment you remember who you are, is the moment you'll walk away. And they can't have that. So they keep the pot boiling, the air tense, the room thick with unspoken tension. They want you guessing, apologizing, second guessing. Make no mistake. These behaviors aren't just flaws or quirks. They are strategies. They are the tools of someone who sees relationships not as a partnership, but as a battleground, where their only goal is to win at all costs. And the cost is almost always your peace, your joy, your sense of self.